Hey everybody, Nick here, and today, well, this is a Spyderco Slysz Bowie, and you're going to be able to buy one again soon. And I want to talk about that. So today I want to talk to you about this knife here. This is a knife that, for those of you who are longtime fans of the channel, know is very important, right? It is one of the first knives that got me into the high-end luxury knife market, right? So in that regard, it was great. It was there at a really important time, at a really terrible, frankly, time in my life, and brought me some joy in a relatively dark time. So I got some nostalgia there, and it's just a great knife design. Marcin Słysz, who's the designer of this guy, did an incredible job creating this thing, and Spyderco did a great job of executing it. And so it's a knife that I've always spoken very highly of. And a lot of people have said, Nick, you're responsible for a lot of the hype. Well, that may well be, but in a lot of ways, this knife deserves it. But I want to talk a little bit about what this looks like now on the eve of a re-release. This particular knife here with the blue and with the lock bar insert is being released by KnifeJoy. They are a knife retailer here in the US. And they made a custom run of these guys. They ordered a bunch of these, and that costs money. Like, I want to be clear, they have put a lot of money into this. And so in that regard, I definitely appreciate them doing it. But, oh, boy, is this pricey to run out there. And so there are now going to be a new drop of these coming. They are apparently landing February 29th of 2024 at 10:30 Central Time. And so you can go to their website and do that whole thing. And the price on them is $450. We're going to spend some time talking about that, rest assured. But still, this guy was sent and actually here, I'll just pull up the thing. This was provided by, well, frankly, provided by the KnifeJoy. Spyderco didn't say anything about this to me, but KnifeJoy reached out, said, hey, Nick, we're doing another round of Bowie. You want to check it out? Like, yes, obviously, 100%. But nonetheless, I told him, as always, I'm going to talk about the good, the great, the bad, the ugly. Might be a gem, might be junk. They still sent it along. Do have to assume that the very best quality controlled one of these guys ever, and I'm doing my best not to let that affect the nature or the quality of this video. But anyways, this is a brand new release of a knife that is a classic, right? I've had videos on the channel about it before. I even reviewed the prior KnifeJoy release. They did a drop of these guys in 2021, I believe. April 2021. And so I have a whole review over there. And so I'm not going to bother doing a full re-review, right? I'll talk about what's changed here, and then I'll talk about how I'm feeling about this knife as being available in 2024 and at $450. And that's kind of the way I'm going to play this guy. So anyways, that's what we got going on here. Let's talk about what I'm loving about this release and what I'm not loving quite so much. So the good side, to start with, this guy uses a lock bar insert. You can see underneath there is a lock bar insert here, and there is also an over travel stop, which prevents you from pressing this lock bar too far out. Is that a big deal? Absolutely not. Right? It is an absolutely fine thing. It works, and it is an improvement, right? It is a better thing to have. But it's not crucial. It's not key. It's not, oh my God, the knife is better. Frankly, it's not even that different, right? The knife feels about the same, regardless of whether it's inserted or not. But it is a nice thing to see a constant quality improvement, even when they could have just re-released the old thing. So I like seeing that very much. I do appreciate that. I also think the knife remains great, right? You can watch my videos to talk about why I think there's so much joy in this design, but it remains a good knife. Right? And especially with the upgraded M390 steel, that's a beautiful thing. With the still deliciously thin edge, that's a beautiful thing. And with the overall design that just works. It is a great cutting tool, is a great carrying tool, is just a great tool overall. The Spyderco Slysz Bowie remains one of my very favorite knives, and this is a good example of it. Right? So that's a beautiful thing. And then maybe the very best part about this is that I hope it costs some scalpers a lot of money. Right? I hate to wish ill on people, but parasites, generally speaking, I'm not as concerned about, right? And a lot of people have been charging ridiculous amounts of money for these on eBay and otherwise, and the trade values for them have gone completely ridiculous. And so I'm very much hoping that some people who bought these not because they are passionate, not because they are interested in knives, but because they want to turn a profit, will get they're going to have themselves a problem. So I really much, anything that is able to put more of these in the hands of collectors who are passionate about knives is an absolutely wonderful thing, and I hope it really does pull that secondary market price down a little bit. And also remember, they've already made 2 runs of these now. So if you don't happen to get one this time, don't pay an eBay person. For the love of God, don't. Just wait for the next round and you'll pay retail for it. Anyways, I digress. So, but to me, those are the good things, right? It's taken some of the wind out of the scales of the scalpers, which is a beautiful thing. Out of the scales. Yeah, sales, but scales. The knife is still an absolutely great knife, and I do love seeing the improvement of the lock bar insert and the over travel stop. On the bad side for this release, you are going to be playing silly games to get them. Now, I understand KnifeJoy got these as a limited drop. It's not the case that Spyderco has done a full re-release of these so it's available at any retailer. No, this is a thing that KnifeJoy themselves has put a bunch of money down to be able to have happen. And so as a result, they're just doing a release in that way. But it is a lolly scramble, right? The idea of log on to our website at this time and hope it doesn't crash. They've been pretty good about that in the past, but we'll see. That is the worst way to sell knives ever, right? Or at least the very most annoying one. I don't know that there's a better solution for something with this much hype, but it is really, really frustrating. And so I don't love that, but I also know that there's maybe not a better approach given that this is a limited drop, at least for the moment. So that's a thing. I am also not as huge a fan of the handle and blade finish relative to the OG. This is the OG Slysz Bowie here, and what we see here is if we look at the blade, on this guy, it is actually a mirror polish, right? There is a mirrored XHP here. I'll clean it off a little bit. Some glasses cleaner. That'll show you a little bit better what that polish is supposed to look like when it's not been carried and used and gunked. What we see here is, yeah, it's pretty good polish right there. Whereas on this guy, this is just a sort of belt satin sort of thing. Now, I understand that XHP and M390 polish differently. That might be a difference that is important there, but still, it definitely feels like a step down. Similarly, the handle on this guy is blasted titanium. Think like Shabazz style. And it is a fairly aggressive blast. It's fine, but it is very much a matte finish, and it really hides the contouring of the Bowie, which is one of the coolest parts of it. I really prefer this original brassy sort of stonewash relative to the matte kind of blasted finish on the new ones. And I kind of hope that for the next round, KnifeJoy says to Spyderco, hey, can you do what you used to do? That would feel better, and frankly, just make it a nicer thing. I really do hope that at some point in time, Spyderco re-releases one kind of in the original pattern. For me, I do prefer the OG a little bit, just because of the change to the handle and to the blade finish there. Although going from XHP to M390 is a strict upgrade. XHP is, I gather, just not being used anymore, and well, let's put it this way, I ain't going to the funeral. It's no problem there. But for me, the worst part about this, and the tough part about this, is the price. The price keeps going up with these releases. Longtime fans will remember and realize that I have a video online from 5 years ago whose thumbnail shows the Slysz Bowie and says, not a $450 knife. So that aged well. This original video was in response to scalpers, speculative buyers, and other flavors of Parasite, right? But that video and that thumbnail is the elephant standing in my room right now, because this is now a $450 knife, empirically, and I understand immediately. A lot of people, especially when I start talking about scalpers, a lot of people come up to me and start giving me a little bit of a, sport, you're going to need to learn something about supply and demand and economics, right? And I picture them taking off the sport coat, throwing it casually over the shoulder, and putting one leg up on a chair, right? If you're going to do that in the comments, please take off the sport coat, put it over the shoulder. That'll just make it better. But nevertheless, I understand that things change over time, and in fact, every price is going up. This brings up the idea of inflation. Here in the US, some of this is due to rising costs, some of this is bald-faced greed, but the fact is everything is getting more expensive, and the luxury knife market is not an exception. And so I figured, okay, maybe because times have changed, right? This knife originally, when it was sold, was $300 at retail. But that was in 2013. So let's do some math using the U.S. Consumer Price Index, right? The original price point for the OG Bowie here was $300, right? And in 2013, that's the retail price. The original MSRP was different, but that's because MSRPs are fake. But anyways, that is equivalent to about $400 now. And so if it were just strictly with inflation, this would be a $400 knife anyways. Then there was the $450, not a $450 knife video. That was done in 2018. And that is apparently $550 in today's market, according to the inflation calculation. So technically, they're still not there. This is not a $450 knife, according to inflation. You know where I'm going there. And if I want to be very, very fair to KnifeJoy and Spyderco here, the last version that KnifeJoy dropped was $400. And April of 2021, that works out to about $460 now. So actually, with this, round of second releases of the Bowie, they're actually a little bit better than inflation. Right? They're coming in a little bit cheaper than inflation might want. So in practice, they're not actually that far off of the OG Bowie price point, including inflation. So the price hike is sort of externally justifiable, but I gotta be real with you, it still sucks. I still don't like it, right? As much as I understand why the price has gone up, for a variety of reasons, many of which external to Spyderco and to KnifeJoy, it hurts to see this price hike going up, right? Because one of the things that made the original Bowie so remarkable was how much quality you were getting for that price point, especially relative to the competition. And I gotta say, in 2024, it's just not the same because the competition has gotten stronger, right? Spyderco's Taichung plant used to be really outstanding relative to other factories out there in the world, right? Whereas now I'd say they're very firmly, they're great still, but they're in the middle of the pack. There are a lot of really great factories overseas working. So we can't necessarily say, oh, it's Taichung, so it's toward the top. Like, that's damn good, but it's not any worse than a lot of other factories out there in terms of the work they're doing, especially when you take away some of the high-end fit and finish stuff that Taichung did special. And actually that brings up the next point, which is that this guy actually feels a little bit lower quality in finishing than the OG, right? The little bit of polishing, the little bit of stonewash here makes a difference. It makes this perceptually feel more luxurious than this guy, which feels a little bit more worky. Right? And even with the improvement in steel and the improvement in the lock bar insert, it still feels a little bit like a step down, like it was nerfed a little bit. And I bet it's cheaper to do it this way, but it also, that's a little rough. And then, most importantly, unfortunately, they have inflated away any advantage in value that they once had. Right? There were a lot of other knives that have inflated less than this. And particularly when you're buying from overseas, you can get really good quality knives for half of this price. And so this is one of those awkward cases where I totally get why the price has gone up. From an economics perspective, but the price increase still really sucks. And that is absolutely my biggest beef here, right? And the reason why, even though this is one of my very favorite knives ever, I am probably not coming across that excited. And so that is my final conclusion in many ways. I feel very torn right now, right? It's a very, very great knife, right? I love the Bowie. It is absolutely spectacular. And this is not for sale. 100% no. It is well attested that I appreciate that. And in 2013, this was a world beater, 100%. I very, very much loved every element of it. And even now, it's a damn solid design and a damn solid knife. And so in that regard, it is a thrill for me to see these out in the wild, to see another generation of collectors getting to experience a design that I really do think is quite good. Is it the best knife ever? No, I'm not saying that. But it is a damn solid design, and I love knowing that there are more of these that are going to be out there for people to get to experiment, to get to try it, and to find one of the pieces that really got me into the world of high-end knives. That's a beautiful thing. And as I said, I am very much in favor of anything that is rare, scarce, hyped, and traded by parasites getting re-released to knock the wind out of their sails. That's a beautiful thing to me as well. So I love knowing that KnifeJoy is out there doing these releases and bringing back some knives that really were killed before their time, in my estimation, and doing so in a way that allows them to be a little bit more obtainable. Not that $450 is obtainable, but it's better than eBay prices. That to me is an absolutely wonderful thing. But I got to be completely honest with you, I still remain torn, right? Because honestly, I'd rather it was like, I wish Spyderco had just dropped this as a new thing so we're not playing the lolly scramble game. I appreciate KnifeJoy doing it, but God, the limited releases thing still drives me crazy, even when I know they might do another one. They haven't said that formally to me, but if this sells out, I imagine they're probably going to print more money later on, right? And I also kind of wish that they were doing something a little closer to the OG. I hope the next version of it looks a little bit more like this, but most importantly, just the competition is so different, right? This knife at $450 is just not that strong relative to some other knives at $450, right? Like, okay, for instance, here's a nice example. This is the MBK Rosalinda, right? This is an incredible knife. It's being made overseas as well, and you can get this for a whole lot less money than the Bowie. These feel similar in some regards. I mean, this is, of course, a Laconico design. But this is a much lower price point, and it's a very, very good quality. It's a very, very nice knife. Or even, for instance, the OG, the Chris Reeve Knives Shabazz, which I'm trying to find. Here we go. right? This knife, the Spyderco Bowie here, is now someplace, it's coming in between the small and large Shabazz, which are being made here in the US, and in many ways feel very similar in terms of construction, right? They feel very similar in terms of finishing, etc., although the finish on the Bowie is actually a little bit nicer, or I'm sorry, on the Shabazz is a little bit nicer. So this guy coming in between the price of the two Sabbies, whew, that's rough. So, in a lot of ways, I feel very torn, right? Even though I love this knife, even though I love that it's coming back, and even though I'm actually very grateful for KnifeJoy doing this, right? Which is why I'm doing this video regardless. There's a big part of me that feels very conflicted, right? So ultimately, my feeling on this is exactly mixed, right? I love this knife, and I love that it's going to be available to more people. I think a lot of people are going to enjoy it, and I think a lot of people are going to buy it, and I think they're going to sell all of them. Because you know what? Even at the price, it's still a pretty damn cool knife. Yet at the same time, I can't give it that same feeling that I used to of like, this is the best knife, you should go buy it, oh my God, buy this knife, oh my God. I can't do that. That's not the thing, right? At this stage, this has a lot more competition. This price has a lot more competition. And the knife market in 2024 is very different than the knife market in 2020, in 2013, that is, way back in the ancient times, right? So at that level, I guess my final conclusion here is I love that this is happening. I love that these are available again. And if you're interested, well, absolutely go to KnifeJoy. Check one of these guys out. And this is the best way to do it, right? It beats the heck out of buying one of these guys on eBay, 100%. But if you're just looking for a great knife, there are lots of great knives now. And there are lots of great knives at a lot of great prices. And this is one of them now. It's not the front of the pack. It's right in the middle of the pack. It's a damn strong pack, right? It's a very, very cool piece. But I don't know. Ultimately, that's kind of where I land. It's amazing. I like it. Should you buy it? Well, that's going to be more up to you. So anyways, there you go. I hope this has been interesting to you, that I was able to get some feeling across to you in my deep, deep confliction as to how all of this is going down, and that you at least kind of see where I'm going with it, right? This can be simultaneously amazing and a gem, while also just not feeling quite so amazing and quite so gem-like here in 2023, at 2024, that is, in these brand new pricing territories. So anyways, there you go. Hope this has been interesting to you. I hope that this video brought you joy, and that you have yourselves just an absolutely wonderful rest of your day. Bye now.